Pine Farm Studio product, filmed in Kinglake, Ontario. In 1921, Henry Wadsworth King, HW for short, was contracted by the Canadian government to complete a half-completed super Zeppelin that had been found in Germany after the end of World War I. This Zeppelin was codenamed Zeppelin Ultra. As a side hobby, HW liked restoring old industrial age machinery he came upon. He had recently come upon a discarded industrial loom found on Queen William Island, apparently by the doomed Franklin expedition. HW and his 4 friends had helped restore the old industrial loom, and they powered it up with a rumbly oil pull tractor. They were surprised when sparks started flying between the loom weights, and out of thin air, between the sparks and the waves of energy, plopped a strange artifact made out of metal from the future. They knew the workings and history of the mysterious loom were beyond their ken, so they turned their attention to the artifact from the future, which they discovered was something called a diesel jet Oneida engine from the year 2020, and they immediately set to work dismantling it and examining it, how it worked. HW and his engineer friend could understand the diesel part of this engine, but the jet component of the Oneida seemed far advanced beyond their workings. They knew it must have belonged to some kind of passenger plane from the future. HW immediately locked up the Quonset hut and swore his 4 friends to secrecy about the mysterious loom that could materialize matter out of thin air, and of the diesel jet engine that had come apparently from the future. Ida, his engineering friend, knew that HW was considering the possibility of powering up the unfinished Zeppelin Ultra with this engine from the future. So he took it to his studio, where he began dismantling it and drawing out its schematics and plans. People began disappearing around the H.W. King factory site, and Ida the engineer found it more difficult to concentrate on the diesel jet engine that he was designing from the artifact. Late one night he pushed away his work on the diesel jet and began to think about the disappearing workers. So far 5 had vanished. 3 men and 2 secretaries. He out a line from the last disappearance through the Quonset hut, and it could show him where the next disappearance would likely occur. And he went out with his flashlight to check that site. Ida mapped out the locations of the disappearances and noticed the pattern. The lines crossed at one point. The old Quonset hut where the loom had been locked up from the regular public. The engineer walked up and down the small dock looking for some strange occurrence. Then he noticed the red loom weight ring standing in a stone, and he went down and picked it up. Ida held a red loom weight in his hands. He could feel the waves of unearthly energy pounding at his mind and soul, pushing him out of his own body. Then with a final spark and burst, he felt himself swooshing out of his body into the darkness. His body sagged for a split second, then jerked and straightened up, and looked about, checking the bearings and any witnesses. Then Ida headed off into the darkness and vanished like the others. Or was it Ida?